We'll get to the Jack Adams because that was so unique and so cool how you were presented with the award. But just your quick thoughts. The Florida Panthers, Stanley Cup champions yet again. We were just talking about it. They just made Edmonton look so bad, but every team, it seems like the Panthers do that too, right?
Yeah, they are truly turning into a dynasty level team here with the last couple of years that they've put together, and just the way that they've done it too. They just overwhelm teams at times, and every facet from their depth to their decor to their goaltending, like you just name it. And it feels like they just check every box you need to have a championship level team, and so they're the cream of the crop right now in our league.
Yeah, and we were talking before you came on, Carbs, about how do you get all those guys on the same page? Like their identity is just what comes to mind
Yeah,
first and foremost. They all adopt it, and I wonder like how much of that is Paul Maurice and how much is that is coaching. And as a coach yourself, how hard is that to do, and how much of the credit do you give to Paul Maurice for that team?
I think it's a little bit of all the above, and I don't mean to skirt the question, but I feel like coaching for sure. Their identity as a team and getting everybody on the same page with that. I also think their front office deserves a lot of credit because if you look at the players, it's funny, especially in their top six and then their third line, like they just all, when you think about a player that is going to be willing to forecheck, a player that's physical and hard on pucks, a player that's going to go to the net front, a player that's going to make a good decision with the puck through the neutral zone. Like I was watching last night, and it just feels like they have a lot of guys that fit that bill and fit that identity. And so part of that absolutely is coaching, and then the other part is management of identifying those players that'll fit inside of that system. And so, even they're really high end players, the Reinhardts of the world, like he's just so good in a lot of those hard areas, and it just fits their identity perfectly.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I mean, sometimes it feels like they have eight guys out there, just so swarming and just like it's and it's. I'm curious too, like as a coach, like do you hate watch the Stanley Cup final because you wish your team did better? Like, how do you watch the Stanley Cup final?
Little bit of both. A little bit of gosh, I wish we were there, and I'm a little bit irritated and pissed off. But then also the coach in you sort of is also picking up little things through the game on both sides, that you're kind of banking for. Oh, that I really like how they do this consistently, and it's something that we have to do a better job of. So you're doing a little bit of both, and then you're watching players too, and who elevates their games in those moments. And it's yeah, you're kind of got a little bit of a battle of emotions going on upstairs. But and look, I will say this too, like Florida, no question, deserves a ton of credit. But the line is so fine, and I know you guys have probably talked about how close Toronto and what Game 3 looked like, and even going into Game 7, like they're right there last night. Okay, the game starts. Edmonton gets arguably the first three grade A's of the game, and Bob makes great saves. Like Bouchard, that big one-timer on the delay by Draisaitl goes back up top. Like that's a really quality save early. So he sort of, they get one there, and does it change things? Look, I'm not taking anything away from them. They had the lead basically the whole series, but it is such a fine line. There's so much parity in our league right now that one game going one way or the other, or one goal here and there can really have a large impact.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about you personally, Carbs. Like to win the Jack Adams, I'm sure you'll downplay it and not want to talk about your own personal success. But when a coach starts his coaching career, I mean, you started in the coast and then through the different levels of pro hockey, and then to get to the National League, and then to get the head coaching position. That's a road that's daunting, especially after being a player and all the uncertainty and your job security and everything. It's not very often you get that recognition. And to win the Jack Adams, there's nothing bigger than that. Like, how good of an offseason you have, and after just receiving that ultimate award for a coach.
I never I was saying this like right after in one of the interviews that they did, like oh, did you ever dream of winning an award like this, an individual award or coaching the NHL. And I'm like, I'm not exact. No, I did not. And I never even in my wildest thoughts, like I remember when I started coaching and I got the head coaching position in South Carolina, I was so excited and happy that I was a head coach and I was like making a decent or like a reputable living and salary. My paycheck looked somewhat respectable. I was like, I could literally, I hope I can just coach here for the next 20 years and do a good enough job where they give me an extension after my 1-year deal that I just signed. And I'll be like so happy and I'll raise my family in Charleston, South Carolina. And that's all I want to do. I just want to do a really good job here in South Carolina so I can coach here for the rest of my life and raise a family. And so it was never even like a thought. I just tried to do the absolute best job I could in SoCo and down there. And I've been so fortunate to be in some great organizations around some great people, some people that took chances on me. Like I there's a bunch along the way, but I'll just reference for you guys, like Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe taking a chance on me to run the Toronto Maple Leafs power play when I'd never coached in the NHL or played in the NHL like that. They took a chance. And there's a lot of people that wouldn't have taken that chance to hire someone like me coming from the AHL to have that responsibility in that market. And so breaks along the way like that are what you absolutely need. And that's happened to me a lot.
Carbs, how cool is it the way they presented that to you? My man, Joe B, great actor, the best in the league, I think. But I mean, just to have your family and your kids present you with the Jack Adams, that's so damn cool, man.
Man, it was really emotional. I didn't really know what was going on. I kind of figured something was up, but didn't really know. And then my kids and wife, and they're walking this trophy in. And then the other most important people in my life, my mom, dad, brother, in-laws, sister-in-law, who, and when I said that on the thing, I'm not exaggerating. Like they live in Victoria, British Columbia, Camden, South Carolina, Chicago, Green Bay, Wisconsin, like all over the continent. And my wife, Casey, was able to coordinate them all coming in, and they hid it from me, and they were staying in hotels. Obviously weren't staying at our house the night before. And so it was really, really surprised, and just one of those moments that you get to share with your family that I'll never forget.
I imagine. I want to take it back to this season and coaching Ovi and the special year that he had with getting the all-time goal record. And was that difficult having this player that's this special, but pushing 40 and also wanting to try to probably get him the record this season, and it was coming down to the wire? Was that difficult to did you have to change your style at all, or did that kind of get on your mind more than it would have if that wasn't really a factor?
It was definitely felt a lot more real this year than the year before. And what I mean by real is it was, he got within striking distance. So coming into the season, we're sort of like, okay, it's a lot of goals. Like he's going to have a really, really good season at 39 years old. So you weren't really thinking about it, but it was in the back of your mind. And when he came in, so my first year here, he really struggled. So this is 2 years ago. He really struggled in the first half of the year. I want to say he only had 8 or 9 goals in the first 30 something games. And then he caught fire in the second half. So going into last year, you're like, him and I talked a lot in the off season about his preparation and his training and what his training camp was going to look like, because we were trying to help him get off to a good start because that didn't happen the previous season. So you're a little bit guarded in the back of your mind, is it, hopefully he doesn't have a start like that. Can we help him? And he came out hot as a pistol, was on fire right out of the gate. So then it became really real. You're like, okay, if he keeps this pace up, he's going to get 50. Let alone this record might be done by, February. Then the Utah game happens on the road, and we win in Utah and he breaks his leg. And I remember going into the locker room to talk to the guys, and then we go into the coach's room, and it was very somber after a win, and guys, like, we knew right away. They got the x-rays in the building, and he was pretty distraught when I saw him in the meal room back at the hotel after the game. And then you go to, okay, well, that pretty much does that. Like, how's he going to get to this record now with breaking his leg, coming back? He's probably going to be around Christmas time or after Christmas time. So then as he starts to, after he got over like 2 or 3 days, like, he starts training, and yeah, I could sit here for hours and talk about his mindset as an elite athlete and as one of the greatest, athletes of all time, let alone hockey players. But it like immediately turns to, okay, let me start skating. And our trainer's like, whoa, this is like 4 or 5 days out from breaking your leg. Like, pump the brakes. And he then starts to train, starts to get ready. He's on the ice. He's pushing. He comes back at Christmas. And again, you think it's going to take him like 2-3 weeks to get going. And he starts red hot again. So that sort of brings us to then when you get him really single digits. And then once it got to single digits, it just felt like it was 2 weeks and it was there. Like, he just kept scoring every single night, including those last few games where we thought Wayne was going to be traveling. Gretzky was going to be traveling with us for a few weeks, and he was literally with us for 2 games because he scores, 2 in the Chicago game, almost get the hat trick, and then the Islanders game, and that was that.
Yeah, I got to give you credit too. If I remember correctly, he didn't want you to pull the goalie, right?
Yeah, he didn't want to go out. And he told me that before, but I wanted to make sure because it was a home game against Chicago. That game was electric. Wayne's first game with the team, the commissioner in the building, Gary Bettman, home game. He's already got 2 in the game. The place was that was one of the coolest games I've ever been a part of in my life. Like, just the feeling in the building, the coming back in the game. He's got 2. He ties the record. So the goalie's coming, and I just reconfirm with him, hey, you sure you don't want to do it now at home? Because we're going on the road the next game to Long Island. And he's like, nope, I don't want to go out there. And I said, okay, no problem. And Ryan Leonard scores an empty netter, his first goal in the National Hockey League. So that was great in itself. Now, the funny thing, if you go back to that game, so I think when we got the empty netter, there might have been 2 minutes to go. I put O back out there because they put their goalie back in. We go up 2. He had 3 grade A's after the empty netter in that last, like, he probably took a minute 40 shift, maybe 2 minutes. He stayed out the whole time and got like 3 really, really good looks where he almost scored to break the record right there and get the hat trick with the goalie in the net. So it was, yeah, just remarkable what he's done in his career, and especially this year chasing down that record.
Yeah, pretty special. All right. Just last from me, Carbs. I always like to ask a guy who's been part of the Toronto Maple Leafs organization, kind of their opinion on what it's like how different do you think it was being part of the Toronto Maple Leafs? There's a lot of talk right now about the scrutiny they're under, the pressure, the media, maybe unfairness at times. What was your take after being part of that organization and also others?
Yeah, it's a great question. This is my take, is it takes a certain player, person, coach to be in that environment. And I just think that's just the reality, because it is, I thought it was such a privilege and amazing. And you go on the road and all the different articles and the media, and all it is to me is it's people that care a lot. And right or wrong, whether you're playing good or poorly, when you're in an organization where people care and love the team and have passion, sometimes negative and positive, that's a great spot to be. I loved that pressure and wanting to do well, and didn't have an issue with that. So what I'm getting at is you need to be okay with that, and be okay with the scrutiny at times, and be okay with the applied pressure and when things don't go to take a certain player, person to to have success and thrive and want to be in those environments. And that's the way that I always took it there. It was such a privilege to coach in a for a franchise and an organization and a city like Toronto, because you just knew how much it meant. And that to me felt great. Seeing all the passion and the fan base and the articles and all that stuff. I always tell a funny thing, because the running the power play isn't always the easiest thing in Toronto. When things are going south, for, inevitably it's going to happen through stretches of the season when things dry up. But I was always like, yeah, I'm watching the film too. Like, the power play is not good enough right now. So I agree with this article or what this person's writing or whatever this person was saying on. So that never really bothered me. And so, yeah, it's a long-winded way of saying I think it's a great privilege to play in places like that, and certain players for sure, and people and coaches. But I think for the most part, it's an absolute honor to coach and be in those organizations.
What did you see playing the Maple Leafs this year? Do you think Berube's got them on the right track here?
I do. I like their team. I like the way they played. They sort of transformed their identity a little bit this year, which obviously is from the coach. And like you saw in the playoffs, they were right there. They beat Ottawa in the first round, go to 7 with Florida. The win in Game 6, huge. Like, they, I was impressed with their game and the moves that they made too. So their identity changes with not only the coach, but Tree making some moves that sort of bringing some players in that fit more of that mold. So I felt like their decor turned into more of okay, it's going to be hard, heavy. We're going to move pucks north. We're going to be bigger, longer, defend better, get in shot lanes, protect the net front, do things like that, which, I thought they had a real good year and was real impressed.
What was that like squaring off with Sheldon this year? That must have been kind of weird and interesting.
Yeah, especially in the division, and him and I had some good chats, and got to see each other a few times through the season. And his Jersey, without some injuries, like they've got a good young team too, with the way that they play, and a little bit different than Toronto, but the skill and speed with a lot of their forwards, and then also with the back end that's coming up with the young Hughes kid and Dougie Hamilton obviously being there. So we had some good battles, but we played them a ton early in the year. I want to say, like, we were done with them within the first month and a half. We must have played them 4 or 5 times, like right out of the gate. And so we got a healthy dose of Keefe right out of the gate.
Lastly, I just wanted to ask you, the coaching fraternity pretty tight, and it seems like Toronto's got a knack for having bald head coach or assistant coaches. Derek Lalonde coming into the mix this time. What kind of reputation does Newsy have around the league?
He's got a real good reputation. Great guy. Coached against him for years. Him and I actually squared off. This is going way back. He was the head coach in Toledo in the ECHL when I was the head coach in South Carolina. So we squared off in an epic 7-game Eastern Conference Finals. I want to say it went to like double or triple overtime. It was 0-0 game. So we've had some battles in our day, but a good hockey mind, really smart, delivers a good message. I think you guys will come to like Newsy there in Toronto. I have a lot of respect for the job that he's done and getting to know him as a coach.
And as you know, the only market where we talk about the assistant coaches, the power play quarterback, the video coaches, I mean, it's very, very unique. And not to sound dumb, or like, I'm always curious. So you win the Jack Adams Trophy. Did they give you like a replica or something like that? Like, what do you get in recognition of the award?
Another great question. I thought you would get. I'm like, someone asked me that the other day. It's like, hey, do you have the trophy? And I'm like, no, they took it away immediately, actually. So I'm like, yeah, I don't really know what goes on. And I have yet to ask our Sergey, our director of communications, do you get to have it for like a week? Do you get a replica? How does that all work?
Well, that's weird, because I remember sitting in John Tortorella's office. I was like 20, and his Jack Adams was sitting right there on like a side table, and I was like, holy, so maybe you got a replica made or something. But I'd look into that if I was you. That's something you got to have to show off.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Carbs, this couldn't have happened to a better person, man. Can't thank you enough. Second time you've been on the show. Always nice enough to give us some time. I appreciate this. Have a great summer. As we can tell, you're getting ready for the draft and free agency. The work never stops, and that's why we love you, man. Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely, guys. Anytime, and thanks for having me on again. Have a great summer.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.